Today in this video we'll be looking into the data available to determine which MMORPG is the most played in 2018. Now if you didn't know, MMORPG stands for Massive Multiplayer Online Role-Playing Game, with the key phrase being massive. The implication is that MMORPGs are designed to be played by a lot of people with a lot of diversity in their preferred playstyles. It's very clear that an MMO can be defined by its community and the population of that community. A larger player base in an MMO has never hurt a game, it has always served to make the game feel alive. Whether you're a dedicated raider or the most competitive PvP player, a large and thriving player base has always been at the heart of MMORPGs. In recent times, the MMORPG market has been flooded with various titles attempting to cater to all the different niches that exist in the MMO market. This leads to players often jumping from one game to another every few months and only leaving a base of players which actually stick to a particular game for an extended period of time. The effect of this is that there are several titles currently in the MMORPG market with dwindling player bases that acts as a deterrent for any potential new players and hampers the content that's already in them. Though, it is out of scope of this video to examine at what this point is hundreds of MMORPGs to report on their player base. What is in the scope of this video is to examine what are the most played MMORPGs in 2018. Now, it's no secret that the MMORPG genre has declined in popularity since 2010, back when Blizzard announced that World of Warcraft had a whopping 12 million subscribers. Now, this decline isn't an indication of the genre or the game itself declining in quality or being empty. It simply indicates that the market has shifted and players' interests have as well. I think this is evident even if we look on Google Trends. It shows that MMORPG as a search term has declined greatly. Other video game search terms like Dota or even Call of Duty are much more prevalent than MMORPG ever was, and I even believe I'm being generous in this assertion by using World of Warcraft as my metric for MMORPG. A comparison on Google Trends showed that World of Warcraft still gets the most activity as far as web searches are concerned, followed by Final Fantasy XIV, The Elder Scrolls Online, Black Desert Online, and then RuneScape. But does this interest as shown on Google Trends actually translate into player numbers? Let's find out. RuneScape, despite having the lowest Google activity among the most popular of the MMORPG genre, is still attracting very modest numbers. Published by MisplacedItems.com, a real-time population tracking website for RuneScape, shows that in 2018 RuneScape peaked with just over 81,000 active players and at its lowest point had 73,000 active players. With a peak average of 77,000 active players in 2018, RuneScape is still an incredibly populated game and shouldn't be discarded by new players on the basis of player base. The next game on our list was Black Desert Online, an Eastern MMO that released in the West in 2014. Black Desert Online is arguably the most popular of the Eastern MMOs to hit the Western market due to its action combat, in-depth life scaling system, and sandbox elements. Now, finding the accurate player count for Black Desert Online was a challenge due to the game's servers being region locked, so the following figures for Black Desert Online are only representative of the US servers. Even then, the game being available on Steam as well as through the publisher directly means there is no reliable measurement of player population. According to Steam's charts, the game peaked in 2018 with 26,000 active players and dipped down to 16,000 active players. This leaves us with a recorded average of 21,000 active players in 2018. Now, I personally think it's worth taking that number with a grain of salt. 21,000 active players still shows me that Black Desert Online has a healthy population with a dedicated core base. Moving further up the list now to The Elder Scrolls Online, which launched in 2014 and is multi-platform on PS4, Xbox One and PC, though each platform is separate and unable to play or cooperate with one another. In late 2017, ZeniMax Online Studios, the developers behind The Elder Scrolls Online, bragged in an article about having 10 million users. Later in the article, it was made clear that 10 million was the number of total accounts made, and that 2.5 million was the active player count. Unfortunately, no platform breakdown exists of The Elder Scrolls Online population, The only specific platform information that exists is the Steam charts, showing a peak of 24,000 active players in 2018. Though, with 2.5 million players, I would assume that you're safe to play it on any platform without it feeling empty. Luckily, the next entry, Final Fantasy XIV, actually has well-kept statistics on its active player base. Final Fantasy is an absolute monolith of a franchise, with having many games and various medias to support and advance its lore. After the longevity and success of Final Fantasy XI and older Final Fantasy MMORPG, it was a no-brainer to release a modernized MMORPG under the Final Fantasy banner. As of current, it is reported by FinalFantasy14Census.com that Final Fantasy XIV has a total active character count of 570,000. This is devised by 3 regions: America, Japan, and Europe, all of which are separate. America has 250,000, Japan has 214,000, and Europe has 108,000. Even if these regions individually represented an entire game, they would be considered successful and prosperous numbers for any MMO. Final Fantasy seems healthy and should not be discriminated against by any new or returning players based on player count. To the least surprising entrant, World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft has dominated not just the MMORPG market but the entire PC gaming landscape since its release in 2004. Upon release, World of Warcraft was breaking population records at an unprecedented rate for an online game and forever changed the way we view MMOs and online gaming forever. In 2010, World of Warcraft arguably reached its peak when it had 12 million subscribers, and that's just in the Western market. In the following years, WoW saw a decrease in player population but never dipped below 7 million. This made it 8 times larger than their next competitor. In 2015, which saw the release of the Warlords of Draenor expansion, WoW experienced a population drop to the under 5 million mark, to which the publications of subscriber numbers stopped. The website Statista predicts that based off the trends from 2015, World of Warcraft would currently be sitting at approximately 5.5 million subscribers. This number published on Statista seems to be on the high end of all estimates made by players, based off pure conjecture and dismantling any information they can get their hands on. However, it's worth noting that World of Warcraft's latest expansion, Legion, sold 3.3 million copies on its release day. This is higher than the expansion where the game peaked at 12 million subscribers. With that in mind, while it may seem like a big variant, I don't believe any number between 3 to 5 million to be too far-fetched. Even if we indulged in the Doomsayers' predictions of the subscriber count being around 1 million, it's still double of that of their next competitor. And even more so considering that WoW is exclusively on a single platform on the PC, its numbers, even at the lowest speculation, dwarfs the competition, and it's certainly not an empty game. So there you have it. In summary, the most played MMORPGs in 2018 are Black Desert Online with an average active player base of 21,000, RuneScape with an average active player base of 77,000, The Elder Scrolls Online flexing some serious muscle with a considerable 2.5 million players across 3 different platforms, Final Fantasy XIV with a total of 570,000 active players, and with no surprise, the most played MMORPG in 2018 is World of Warcraft, with having a speculated subscriber count of anywhere between 3 to 5 million players. Thank you very much for making it to the end of this video. Be sure to leave your comments down below if you think I've missed out any other MMORPG that should have made it onto this list. If you're happy with this list and what you saw, be sure to hit that like button. If you want more content about MMORPGs in the future, be sure to subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the future so these many mouths can tell you many more tales.